Welcome to COTech College of Technology. I am Maxwell Tapra, and then today we'll be talking about C# programming with databases, part 1. Now, in this lecture, you will learn what C# is, what is Microsoft Framework, .NET Framework, the advantages of using C#, what other technologies can you use aside C#, and then conclusion. Now, C# is a general-purpose multi-paradigm programming language developed by Microsoft that runs on a .NET framework. Now, C# is used for building mobile application, games, and then Windows applications. C#, or when you talk of C# Microsoft.NET framework, what is Microsoft.NET framework? The .NET framework is a software development platform developed by Microsoft. The framework was meant to create applications which runs on the Windows platform. The first version of the .NET framework was released in the year 2002. The .NET framework can be used to create form-based and then web-based applications. Web services can also be used using the .NET or can also be developed using the .NET framework. The framework also supports various programming languages such as the C#, the Visual Basic, and the C# itself. So developers can choose and select the language to develop the required platform. Now, what are some of the advantages of using C#? It's object-oriented. Now, when you talk of object-oriented, means it allows programmers to envision their code in real-life scenarios where they see the program or the code as objects, having a state and a behavior. It also has easy to development feature. C# language has a rich class of libraries that makes many functions easy to be implemented. The C# programming language influences most of the programmers of the world and has a history in programming world. It is also cross-platform. Now, the most important requirement for C# programming is the .NET framework. The moment the .NET framework is being installed on your machine, you can use C# on any platform, whether Linux, whether Mac, Apple, or Windows, you can use C#. And also with the cost benefit, C# is its maintenance is less and is safe to run as compared to other languages. C# can be developed, it can be used to develop iOS applications, Android and Windows Phone native apps, which can be done through Xamarin frameworks. What other technologies can we use aside C#? We can use the Java programming language. We can also use the VB.NET, and then we can also use Python. We have other languages that we can use, but basically in our level, we will consider the Java, the VB, and also Python. Thank you. Stay tuned for part 2. Welcome back to part 2 of C# programming with databases. I am Maxwell Tapra, then speaking from COTech College of Technology. In this lecture, we're going to learn how to create our first Windows Form application, and also the tools we need in creating a Windows application. We'll be using Visual Studio basically from Microsoft. Visual Studio, that is the tool we use in developing our application. So without wasting my time, let's start Visual Studio. Let me open Visual Studio. Let's start Visual Studio. I'm using Visual Studio Enterprise 2015. We have the 2017, 2019, 2012, 2010, but I'm using the 2015 version. Good. All right, so it just opened. Okay. So when you start your Visual Studio for the first time, you are going to see bunch of information on it and all that. Don't get confused, don't be freaking out and all that. It's easy, and then also clear over here. We have news. The news over here provides news from Microsoft, news from the tech community and all that to you. When you are connected to the internet, that's when you see the news section. And then also we have new on Microsoft platforms, new tools on Microsoft platforms, featured videos to help you to improve upon your learning in programming. And then up here too, you see your recent project you've worked on. And then yeah, that's it. So let's create our first WinForm application. How do we create our WinForm application? As a beginner, you've been asked to create an application to manage a shop, create an application to manage a school, create an application to manage a church, a management system, okay, a calculator. Okay, how do we go about these things? How do you develop an application as such? Okay, so to create or develop your app, after opening your Visual Studio, what you need to do is you click on new project. It's a project you are creating. Okay, so you click on new project, and then when you click on your new project, a dialog box will pop up for you. Okay, think my okay, so I have my dialog box pop up for me. Okay, so I have Visual C Sharp, Visual Basic, Visual F Sharp, Visual C++, SQL Server, and then the rest. Now we are working here with C Sharp, so we'll click on Visual C Sharp, and then we want to learn how to build Windows Form applications. It means our apps are designed to run on desktop applications, okay, run on laptops without internet and all that. It's not a web app, it's a desktop app. Okay, so we'll click on Windows Form application, this one. You click on this one, then here we have name, location, and solution name. The name over here, the name we want to give to your application. What name do you want to give to your project? Okay, so you specify the name over here. Since we are working with C# with databases, I'm making my application C# with database. That's the name of my application, C# with database. Then the location over here helps you specify where you want to keep or save your project to. Okay, you can click on browse. Then you click on browse, you specify where you want to save your project. Okay, all right, and then the solution name is automatically the project name. Okay, they meant to enter a project name over here, the solution name picks it and then it sets it here automatically for you. You can change it, but then we don't advise, I don't recommend that. Okay, so you just leave it as it is, then you click on OK. Click on OK for you to create your project for you. So you can see down here that I have creating project C# with databases, so it's loading. Let's wait a while for it. Okay, all right, so okay, so as you can see, I have my first Windows Form application created. Okay, so as you can see, we have form 1 here with the minimize, the maximize, and the close button here. Okay, all right. Whenever you create a Windows Form application for the first time, it automatically creates a form for you automatically. The moment the project is done creating, you see something like this for you. It's done automatically for you. You don't have to do anything for it. You just create your project, and then as soon as it's done building, you have your project or your form 1 there already. Now we have Solution Explorer here. Now the Solution Explorer contains or holds all your project files. So now when I click on Solution Explorer over here, I'm going to see CSharp Database, that's the name of our project, and then Properties, References, App Config, and then other things in here. Okay, so you can see we have form 1 over here. This form 1 is this form we are seeing over here. The system created that for us automatically. Okay, now in case you don't see or you don't find your Solution Explorer, you just click on View. Okay, then when you click on View, you scroll down to Solution Explorer, or you can use Ctrl-Alt-L, the shortcut Ctrl-Alt-L to insert your Solution Explorer. So now it's here. And then when you have the Solution Explorer here, you see all the files in your project C# with databases. Okay, all right, so without wasting my time, let's learn how to add controls onto our form. After creating your C# form, how do we add controls onto it? We want to build a simple login system where this system can be connected to a database, and then we take it from there. Something simple and easy. Okay, all right, so here what I'm going to do first is change the form 1 over here to the name of the form I want. Now we are creating a login form. We are making the form a login form. So how do we change it? We'll right click on the form. Okay, then we have properties. So click on properties, and then we'll quickly come down here. We have test form 1. We change form 1 to login and we press enter. Okay, the moment to press enter, it changes here automatically for you. Okay, and then the next I'm going to do is I'm going to add some controls onto the form. Now when I click on toolbox over here, you realize we have buttons, checkboxes, a whole lot of tools are here. So as we move on, we'll be talking about some of them as we move along. Okay, so in case you don't see your toolbox, you click on view, you scroll down to toolbox, shortcut is Ctrl-Alt-X, and then you have your toolbox here for. Okay, so let me pin it here, then let me add a text box. Since login I'm designing, I'll click on text box, drag it onto the form like this, and then we'll click another one, put it here, and then we'll drag it that way. You can also do this after inserting your first text box. You hold the control key, then you drag down to insert your text box or duplicate the text box. Okay, so I have my text boxes here. The next I'm going to add is I'm going to add a button. Okay, so I click on button, put button here. I'm going to make this button login. How do I change the text of the button? Right click on the button, we'll go straight to properties. Okay, then we have, scroll down, we have test. Okay, there are times these ones we see over here, they are being arranged alphabetically, but there are times you see them mixed. Okay, they are not arranged alphabetically, they are being arranged in groups. Now when they are being arranged in groups and you are not careful, yours might be up here where you have the appearance. Okay, so it's not being arranged alphabetically. Okay, but then when you click on this one, A to Z, the system is going to arrange all the properties over here for you alphabetically. So test will change from button 1 to login. Then let me close this thing a little bit, close this guy, move this one up here. Okay, then write something up here. So I want to write something up here. Okay, so look for a label. Okay, we'll click on it, drag it on the form, and then rename it or change the text to welcome, and you say enter your username and password to log in. Enter your username and password to log in. Okay, we'll have that one here. Then we'll have another label here. We'll rename this label to username. Okay, and then let me duplicate it. The same principle. You hold the control key, you click on the object you want to duplicate, you hold the control key, then you drag down, okay, or drag to the position you want to insert it. Okay, so I have this one here. Rename username, this one to password. Okay, password. Good. So I have my username here, I have password there. Good. And now let's continue. Let me close this up a little bit. Okay, and voila, we are done creating our first WinForm application with a login form. Okay, with a login form. So here, as soon as someone enters his username and password and then click on it, when the information or the credential the user or the client enters here is being connected, or we have that in our database, the system will automatically take the person to the next form that we will be creating soon, or else we have a message incorrect username or password. Okay, all right, so let's run our project and see how far it's been doing. Okay, so you click on this start over here, click on the start button over here. After doing this, you click on the start button, and then the project starts building for you. So it's building up. Project is building up for us. Okay, all right, so we have our project here. Well done, you've been able to create your first Windows Form application. You have our login form here. But did we notice something? The moment the project started, the form appeared on the upper left corner of our screen. No, that's not how it should be. It should rather appear at the center of the screen. And also over here, when I enter my username, let's say I have my username to be Maxwell, and then when I enter my password, you see the password too is visible. So how do we change the password to make it in an asterisk form or in a dot form? So that one to this, how it's going to be. To change that property, you click on password text box. Okay, you right click, properties, then we have password character. Okay, so we change the password character to an asterisk, and it means that whatever the user enters in there will be in an asterisk format. And also we want the form to appear in the center of the screen and not on the upper left corner of our screen. So with that one too, we'll click on the form, main form up here, right click, or you just click on it, right click on it, you go to properties, and then we have start position. We change the start position from Windows Form location, Windows default location to center screen. And then now when we start our project, the form is going to open right at the center of our screen for us. Another thing we have to also check over here is that we have username password, but in here there's a cursor blinking here. The cursor should actually start from here, the username, where you have the username, and not here. And we are having this because we've not set up our tab index. When you talk of tab index helps whenever you are filling a form, then you want to move to the next form. You just click on the tab key on your keyboard. The cursor over here should automatically move to the next form or the next page for you. you shouldn't be moving your cursor up and down to enter something in a space. So to set that one to up, what we're gonna do now is we'll click on the first text box over here as username. You go to properties, or you just right click properties, and then you search for tab index. Now since this one is our first tab index, the username box for username or field for username is our first tab index, you change the tab index from 0 to what? To 1. Then you press enter. Then password field, we set the tab index for password field to what? 2. We press enter. And then finally we set tab index for login button as 3. And then when I start my project, I click on start. Wow, we have our first admin. When I hit on tab, it moves to the second space automatically. Can enter my password, and then when I click on login, it should open for us automatically. Okay, all right. So guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 3, where we will learn how to connect to databases, how to accept username and password, and check if it's correct. If it's correct, we log into our dashboard. If it's not, we display an error message for the user. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for part 3. All right, bye bye. Guys, how are you doing? I'm Maxwell Tapra, and I'm speaking from Tech College of Technologies. Last time we met, we designed our login form, and then when you click on the start button, this how it works, or this how it appeared. This is where we got to the last time. All right, now we will be creating a form that will be linked to this login form. That when the user enters his username and password correctly and click on login, that new form will open for the user. Else you're gonna have an error message. Okay, so how do we create a form? This form here was created automatically when we created our project. So how do we create our own form, or how do we add a new form? We have two ways of adding a form in CSharp Visual Studio. Now to add a form, you can click on project up here, then you click on add Windows form to add a form, or you can click on Solution Explorer and then right click on your project name, then quickly scroll down to add Windows form. So you have two ways of doing it. You can either click on project up here, add Windows form, or right click, add Windows form. So whichever way you want it, it's okay, it's fine. Okay, all right, so we will click on project and then add Windows form here. Then I'm going to name my new form dashboard, or it can be any name. It can be main, it can be any name, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm making my new form dashboard. Then we'll click on add. Okay, so I have my dashboard form created. You can expand or increase the width and height of your dashboard form just by using it in node here. Okay, increase the width, increase the height, and then all that. Okay, so back to the login form. How do we make a user enter username and password, and then after clicking this login, it should automatically open this dashboard for the person? How do we do that? How do we link those things? So this is what we are going to do. We will be writing some codes over here, but before I write some codes over here, let's give this login button a name. Okay, now the name we will be giving to this login button is a name we will be using at the back end of our program. Every programming language has a back end and a front end. What we are doing now is a front end. The back end contains the logics behind each control or each object on the front end. Okay, all right, so it's not difficult. Don't be scared, don't freak out. It's not difficult. It's something simple and easy that you have to understand. Okay, all right, so I have a button here, and then this button, what you are going to do is that this button will have a piece of statement or instructions that when the user clicks on, that particular instruction is going to be executed. That's all. It's not something difficult, a big deal. It's not any big deal. Okay, something simple and easy to understand. A bunch of instructions will be behind this login button, and as soon as you click on it, that instruction gets executed. Simple. Okay, so now let's give this button a name so that when we zoom to the back end, we wouldn't be found wanting. So this login button, we're going to give it a name. Aside having a test as login on it, we also have this, the real name of this button is button 1, which is appearing over here, though we're giving it a test name of login. So it means that we should change this name over here to, because it's a button, you have a prefix of btn, then you say login button, so btn login, press enter, and then we will double click on this login over here. The moment you double click on it, the system will automatically take you to the back end section of your program. Okay, this is the back end of your program, and that's the front end of your program. Okay, so you have form 1. Okay, form 1, the design part is the front end, and the part with the form name .cs means C# is the back end. So over here, to open a new form, we will just reference the form. Now, what is the name of the form? The name of the form here is dashboard. Dashboard. The name of our new form is dashboard. We want to open this new form through this button. So what we are going to do is that we will create an instance of it by saying dashboard ds is equal to new dashboard. That's what it means. In C# you cannot just get out of the blue and say I want to open a form. Before you do that, you should create an instance. An instance is something that stands in or reference an example of something. Are you getting it? So here, dashboard ds equals new dashboard is just like saying, okay, your name or myself as Maxwell, having a nickname as Maxi is equal to new Maxwell. So now when I say Maxi, it means I'm the same person, but the Maxi is referencing me. Okay, it's referencing me, or that's another name of myself. Are you getting it? So to open a form, you just say, you bring the form name here, you give an example, an instance of that particular form, something to represent it, then you say it's equal to new dashboard. So dashboard is the main name, ds is equal to a new dashboard, a new name given to this form over here, or this object over here. So then after we say ds dot show, so show the form, then we terminate over here, and then after we also say this dot close. Now what this dot close means is that whenever a user clicks on this login button to open our dashboard form, the system should automatically also hide or close this login form when the dashboard form pops up. So let's run and see how far it's been to. Now when I click on the start button to start the project, there is it. When I click on login, what happened? There's an error. It popped up and then it went off. It wasn't able to stay on the screen. Why? Let's check something over here. We are saying this dot close. It should be this dot hide instead. You should hide it instead. Okay, all right, you shouldn't close it. When you close it, because this form is our first form running, the system is going to shut down. So click on start and then login, and then we have our dashboard form open here for us. Okay, all right, so we don't want the user to just start the application like this, and then after starting we'll just click on for instance, when you click on start, We don't want the user to just click on login to open a dashboard. We want the user to fill in this information, and then after click on login, and if the information over here is correct, it should open the dashboard for the user. Else it should pop up an error message, incorrect username or password. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, so now let's pause running application by clicking on this stop debugging over here. Okay, all right, so to achieve that, where user will enter username and password, we should also give this text box here names. So click on the username and then properties. The name of this text box is text box 1. I'm going to change it from text box to txt. We say username, and then password, we say txt password. Okay, so txt username, txt password, and then we'll double click on this login button to write the instructions. Okay, so let me comment these guys off. We'll comment them soon, and then we start by saying if, okay, it's a condition, so we say if txt username dot test dot equals, okay, so whatever the user will enter in this particular text box with name txt username, if it is equal to, so the test is equal to, we say admin, and okay, in programming this I write end, we don't write end this way. Okay, we say end. I know we have other languages that write end that way, like the Python and then the VB and the rest, but in CSharp we just say this. Okay, and txt password dot test dot equals, we say if that one is equal to pass, then we should open this. This is an example we are doing. If the user enters, username as admin and password as pass, you should open this for the user. Else, okay, else it should display an error message. So we say message box the show, into bracket we say incorrect username or password, and then we give a title for our message box. So we say message box, and then we will display our error icon and button by saying message box buttons dot okay, and then message box icon dot error. Okay, so an error icon. All right, so we save our work. Now let's run and see. So these are the instructions I was talking about, just some few lines, and then you are good to go. So we'll click on start, and then let's see. When I click on login, I have incorrect username and password. Okay, unlike initially when I click on login, it was just opening a dashboard for me. So now we fulfilled our assignment. When you click on login, it should display this because you've not entered anything over here. Okay, so you have incorrect username or password. But as soon as you enter admin, then password, you enter what's the password here. Password I think is pass. You click on login, we have our dashboard opened here for us. Are you getting it? Good. So that is all we'll be doing today. In our next lecture, we'll talk about connecting our codes here to the database so that our username and password wouldn't be only admin and then pass, but can be changed to any credentials, and then it will also be used in logging into our system. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Thank you. Bye-bye. Guys, welcome to COTech College of Technology. I am Maxwell Tapra, and today's lecture we'll be talking about C# programming with databases part 4. And then we will be concentrating on the database aspect. In our previous lecture, we learned how to open a form from a different form, whereby we created a login form, and then as soon as a user enters his username and password correctly, a new form will open for the person, else an error message pops up. Now today we'll be concentrating on connecting our form to the database, where a user can save an information into the database, update the record in the database, delete the record, and also retrieve the information. So in this lecture, content to learn, we have database management system, we have database concepts. Now when we talk of a database management system, most businesses today store their database data in databases, or store their company information in databases. Now in this chapter, you will learn basic database concepts and how to write CSharp applications that interact with databases. You will learn how to use data grid view control to display the data in a database. You also learn how to sort and update database data. When developing an application that works with a large amount of data, most developers prefer to use a database management system. A database management system is a software that is specifically designed to store, retrieve, and manipulate large amounts of data in an organized and efficient manner. Once the data is stored using a database management system, applications may be written in CSharp or other languages to communicate with the DBMS, which is Database Management System. Rather than retrieving or manipulating the data directly, a C# application can send instructions to the database management system. The database management system carries out those instructions and sends the results back to the C# application. Now it's like you going to a restaurant to eat. Now when you get to the restaurant, after having your seat, you call in for the waiter or the waitress. Now when the waiter or the waitress comes in, you place your order. The waiter, the waitress takes your order to the cooking room, and then places your order, and then she comes with your food. So you as a client here in programming with C# can be the software you'll be designing, the C# application you'll be designing, and you making your order are the queries you will send to the database. And then the database is the back end, where that's the kitchen where people are cooking foods and all that. So there is always a transaction between the front end, which is your C# application, and then the back end, which is your database. Now, for example, suppose a company keeps all its files or keep all of its product records in the database. The company has a C# application that allows the user to search for information on any product by entering its product ID number, just like going to a supermarket to buy something. Now the C# application interacts with the database to retrieve the record from the product with a specified product ID number. The DBMS retrieves the product record and sends the data back to the C# application. The C# application displays the data to the user. C# is capable of interacting with many database management systems. Some of the more popular DBMS we know or are Microsoft SQL Server, the Oracle, the DB2, MySQL. In this chapter, we will use MS SQL Server, which is installed with Visual Studio. Database concept. When we talk of a database, what is a database? A database is a collection of one or more tables, each containing data related to a particular topic. Now, when you talk of a data in IT, data means raw fact. They don't make meaning. And then the base means where something is located or situated. So over here, the whole concept over here is where data or where raw facts are being kept. Database. A database might, for example, have a table containing information about employees. Another table might list information about weekly sales. Another table might contain a list of items in the store's inventory. Let's look at the database table named department, which contains information about department within a company. Each row of the table corresponds to a single department. The sample table contains the ID number, the name, and the number of employees in each department. So here, for instance, we have our department ID here, we have our department name here, and we have number of employees over here. So 1 to 4, department name, human resource, accounting, computer support, and then the rest. And the number of employees in that department are being listed here. Now each table has each table has a design which specifies each column's name, data type, and field size. Now these are the column names. Okay, the ID, department name, employee number, they are the column names. Okay, then we have data type. Now in programming, when you say data type or when you talk of data type, a data type specifies the kind of data a column should accept. Now department ID is a column, department name is a column, number of employees too is a column. Now we have to set a data type for this column so that a list of values or data should be only accepted to this column. An example, department ID is containing 1, 2, 3, 4, which are integers. So it means the appropriate data type for this department ID is an integer. So over here you have department ID, integer. We have the range or size, 32,768, negative to positive, meaning this integer value here or this integer column here can actually take up to 32,768 values over here. That's the size of it. You have the department name as a string, which is a combination of characters. Integers are negative or positive whole numbers. Number of employees do the same. Okay. Now the department ID column is called a primary key because it uniquely identifies each department. No two departments can ever have the same department ID. It is always advisable to set a primary key on your database column to avoid duplication. Primary keys can be either numbers or strings, but numeric values are processed by database software more efficiently. In this table, the primary key is 1 column. Sometimes a primary key will consist of 2 or more combined columns, creating what is called a composite key. Alright, so let's move to the software we'll be using for the database aspect. And in this tutorial, the software we'll be using for this database is SQL Server, Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so we'll click on it to start, and there is it, SQL Server 2014. That's the version I'm using, SQL Server 2014. So over here we will learn how to create a database, we will learn how to create tables in a database, and then we also learn how to insert records into this table. It's very important for us to know all these things. Now in every table or in every database there is a table. Every database should have a table. Okay, every database is supposed to have a table. The database is just the container, and the table contains the columns and then the records in each column. Okay, so this is how it looks like after installing and everything. You connect, this is how it looks like. Okay, so over here I'm gonna create a database. How do you create a database? I have my database here, so I'll just right click on database folder, new database, and then we'll give the database a name. So I'm gonna name the database CSharp tutorial, so CSharp tat Okay, good. So I cascade this, and then there's it, C# that. Okay, now in every database, like I said, there is a table. There should be a table. So after clicking on this button, we have tables here, and so far we don't have any table created now. So let's create our table here. So right click, new table, name the table account. Since we have a login system, we should have a table holding user's credential. So first column name here is going to be ID, and the type is going to be an integer. Then we have username, and then the type is going to be a varchar. Then we have password, same thing, varchar. Okay, now we make this ID our primary key, a unique key. So we just click on this key over here as set as primary key, or we just right click, we have set primary key. Okay, let's save the table. How do we save? You right click on this tab, or you click on this save icon over here. You give your table a name as account. Okay. Okay, now the table has been created, but it doesn't appear here. So what we do, we refresh this, and then we have our DBO account. The meaning of DBO means database object dot account. Okay, now let's have some records in this table. The table has been created now. Now let's have some records in it. So I'll right click on the table, then I'll click on edit top 200 rows. Now when I click on it, the system will now give me the opportunity to enter. So ID number 1, username, we have admin, password, we have pass. ID number 2, we have username, user, password, QWERTY. And then finally, we have dummy, and then dummy as password. So we are having this 3 record in our database table account. Good. Let's quickly go back to the software we created. All right, so over here, instead of making our system static, over here, whereby we only have admin pass, what we are going to do is that we're going to change all these things over here. We're going to clear them all, and then connect this form, login form, to our database table, to this database table we just created. Okay, so that as soon as someone enters any record from the database, the system is going to recognize it from here and then log the person in. So how do we do it? There are certain things you have to know and understand each time you are connecting to the database. Now, when you are connected to the database, these are the things you need. So let me comment here and say things needed. 1, you need what we call SQL connection. 2, you need what we call SQL command. These are the 2 things you need. You also need SQL data reader. SQL data reader. These are the basic 3 things you need, especially when you are creating a login system. Okay, so over here, what you are going to do is that we just start from the SQL connection. Now when we talk of SQL connection, the SQL connection holds your connection string. The connection string is a piece of text that actually connects you to your database. So it connects your C# Visual Studio Microsoft Visual Studio app to the database over here. So it contains a string that helps you connect your C# application to the database. It's like a passcode. Okay, so here you declare the SQL connection variable by saying SQL connection con, okay, is equal to new SQL connection with an instance of it. Now the SQL connection has been underlined because we've not imported it into our project. So we just click on it, and then you have this bulb over here. You click on it, then you click using system.data.sql client. Okay, it appears up here. There is it, or you can type it manually up here. So SQL connection. So now we say con is equal to, so this is the connection string, con is equal to, connection string into bracket. We need what you call data source. Data source is the machine name you are using. Then we have database. What's the name of our database? The name of our database here is C# tutorial. So database, you say C#, then followed by integrated security, which is equal to true. Integrated security deals with your login credentials. When you were logging to your system, you actually entered a PIN code. Okay, so one way or the other, you have a security feature on the machine and also on the database. After this, we have our command. The SQL command carries our query. The query will be writing. Okay, so SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command. Into bracket, we say select all from account where username equals. Now this username here is coming from the database username. Okay, this account here is coming from the table name account. So where username equals, then we put our text box name over there by saying single quote, double quote, plus, and in it you say txt username dot text, and password equals single quote, come in between double quote, plus, txt password dot text. So that's it. All right, so after doing this, now we say SQL data reader SDR is equal to new is equal to cmd dot execute reader. Then after we say if, because we are going to the database to check if what the user enters is right. So we say if sddr dot read, if it's truly there, what should happen? That is when we call our dashboard ds is equal to new dashboard ds dot show, and you say this dot hide, else say else, then we have message box, the show into bracket, and then we say incorrect username or password. display a message title. Okay, message title. We have message box buttons dot okay, and then message box icons dot, it's an information or an error icon. All right, now let me keep here con.open to open the connection, and then after everything need to close con.close, need to close connection. All right, so far so good. This is how it's going to be. Okay, so behind this login button, after double clicking on it, this is where you type these few lines of code, and then this query or this query will actually communicate with your database, and then make sure records here only are being used to log in. Let's try. Start our application. Okay, so now my database, I have dummy. So let me try dummy password. Let me try password to dummy, and when I click on login, okay, it's keeping long, it's keeping long. Okay, what is the issue now? Okay, so we are having an error here. Connection property has not been initialized. Okay, so over here, this is what is going on. I think I need to do this. No. Okay. Yeah. The error was coming from here. The command holds the query with connection. The connection here was con, so we have comma con here. Yeah, and then we are good to go. Now let's run again. So we have dummy, and then dummy, and then when I click on login, it's giving me incorrect username or password. Probably I'm entering something different, so let me enter the right one, dummy, and then login. We have our dashboard opened. Let me try with a different credential here. I have my database, user, and QWERTY. So now I run. So I have user and I have QWERTY. Now I click on login. It should open dashboard for us. Alright, so that's all for today. Thanks for watching. We will continue next time. Stay tuned. Bye bye. Guys, welcome to part 5 of C# programming with database. I am Max Otapra, speaking from Tech Institute of Technology. Okay, today we'll be talking about, or in this lesson we'll be talking about designing dashboard form. Designing our dashboard form. Previous lessons we learned how to log in into our system, getting information from our database. Okay, so
these are what we did. These are the codes we wrote for that one. Today we'll be talking about designing our dashboard to perform the CRUD activities. Now when we talk of CRUD, CRUD, C means to create, the R means to retrieve, the U means to update, and the D means to delete or drop. So in this dashboard form we'll be creating, we will learn how to create, we will learn how to retrieve. The create means to insert in the database. We will learn how to retrieve the record inserted in the database. We will learn how to update, and then we also learn how to delete records. Okay, so without wasting my time, let's create or design our form. So with this dashboard, click over here, then I'll add a panel here to give it a name. Okay, nice name with a color. So let's add a panel up here, give it a background color of black. Okay, now let me add my label. Okay, so change the text of the label to employee information. And then we change the font color of the text to white so that it can be visible here. Let me also quickly change the font size of it. Okay, so I have employee information boldly here. All right, then add my label again, and then we'll add a text box. So up here I have this label to be my ID. Okay, let me duplicate this. I have ID followed by first name. I have last name. Last name. So first name, last name. Then let me resize this. Okay. Create duplicate here. I have email. I have high date. I have salary. Should probably be adding gender, I think, telephone number. So change this one to gender. And then we use a drop down instead of a text box. Name of it is combo box. this combo box. I'm gonna enter our collection in here, male and female. All right, so let me put the email here. It's text box here. Okay, then we'll add my buttons to it. Okay, so I have my first button to be save record, and I have update record, and then finally I have delete record. Delete record. Okay, then I'll add a table. The table name is data grid view. You can search up here if you can't find it. Data grid view, drag and drop it on it, and I have my table here. Okay, so we are done designing our form. We have our buttons, we have our data grid view, we have our column names here, or we have our field names here. The hide date should be a date time picker, so we'll change that one to box. We have date time, so we'll pick this one, date time picker. I think this one should be the right tool for it. Date time picker, save. Okay, so guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in my next section.
Welcome to CUTEC College of Technology. I am Maxwell, and this is part 4 of our C programming with database. In today's lecture, we'll be talking about how to insert record into database using our C# application, how to update the record in a database using our C# application, how to delete record, and how to display the record in a table or in a table set in our C# application. And then we also learn some terminologies that we need to know as programmers. One of the terms you have to know when it comes to C# programming database is data source. Now, a data source is usually a database, but can include text files, Excel spreadsheets, XAML data, or web services. Our data source will be Microsoft SQL Server Database files. That's what we'll be using. Binding source. A binding source connects data bounds controls to a data set. Then we have data set. A data set is an in-memory copy of the data pulled from the database table. A data adapter does the pulling and it copies the data to the data set. Now, we also have connection string. A connection string is a collection of characters that authenticate the C# application to the database. Then we have our SQL command. The SQL query rating to perform a transaction in a database from the C# application. It also takes the connection string variable as parameter to the database. These are the basic terminologies we will be using or have to know as programmers. As we move on, I'll be explaining to details some of these terminologies, so stay tuned. Okay, welcome back. The last time in our previous lecture, this is what we did. We designed our dashboard form by adding some labels, some panels, changing colors, adding a combo box, and a data picker with buttons. Then we also added our data grid view. So today, in our lecture, we're going to learn how to insert or save record into database. And how do we do it? Okay, before we can save the record into database, we will have to give every object on our form a variable name or an ID. And how do we do that? So first and foremost, we will click on the text box, right click, properties, and then up here, the name of this text box is text box 1. We have to change it to a name that we will always remember in our program. So up here, where I have the name into bracket, we change the text box 1 to txt with the prefix text box txt. Okay, then you say ID, press enter. Then we want to the next text box, which is first name. Change first name to txt fn for first name, last name properties txt ln for last name, email the same thing, txt email, gender txt gender, date time, which is the high date, say dt high date. Dt means date time, so dt high date. Salary, we say txt salary. Then save record, we have btn save for button. Update, you have btn update. Then delete, you say btn delete. Okay, then also give our table a name. The name of the table is data grid view. So here we say dgv data grid view, we say employees, because it's going to display the records of the employees. Okay, so after giving these objects or component IDs, the next thing we are going to do is we are going to double click on the save button. Okay, since after entering all records in here or the data in here, a user has to click on this save record before the information gets to the database. Our instruction that I'll be writing will be at the back of this save record. So we'll double click on this save record and then we'll write our codes over here. Whenever you are saving a record into a database, these are the database variables you need. First, you need SQL connection, or you need a connection string, which is your connection string. Okay, connection string authenticates the application to the database. 2, you need SQL command. The command is the query written to perform a transaction in a database. So these are the 2 things you need whenever you are saving record to the database. So now let's start something. So I'll start by declaring the variable by saying SQL connection con is equal to new SQL connection into brackets. Now the SQL connection always, after doing this, you have a red line underlined, or your SQL connection underlined with a red line. So you import, use this using the system.data.sql client. Then up here you see it over here. You can also type it straightforward there. So here SQL con is equal to new SQL connection. Now the SQL connection holds a group of string characters, okay, that is used to authenticate the CSharp application with your database. And one of the characters or one of the strings here we need is data source. The data source is the source of the database. Where is the database located? So always, every machine or every machine laptop you're using is localhost. People most of the times also put a full stop over there, the same as that. Others also type 127.0.0.1. It's the same thing, same as localhost. So it's either you enter your PC name over here, okay, or you just type localhost, which goes for all. Then we have our database, the name of the database itself. So from our tutorial, the name of our database is CSharp tutorial. This is the name of our database. Okay, so over here, database is equal to CSharp tutorial. You have the name here. Then we terminate, followed by security wise. So integrated security, we have it to be true. Okay, good. After this, we have our SQL connection set. Our application can now communicate with the database. But when the application is connected to the database, it needs to communicate with a command, which is our query. So before we write the query, we have to open connection. So we say con.open. Then here we start by SQL command cmd as an instance is equal to new SQL command into bracket. And then over here we are inserting record. To insert a record in the database, you have to write a query. Now if you are not familiar with the query, with the insert, you come over here to the database, and then with the employee, we have to create a database for it. We've not created a database yet. We will have an account table here. So quickly, let's create a table for the employee. So I right click on this table, new table. Then I'll start by saying, okay, we have ID. It's an integer. We have first name, varchar, size of 20 is okay. Last name, varchar. These column names are what we have in our application. So after last name, we have email. So email, varchar, varchar. We have gender, same varchar. We have salary, varchar. Oh, sorry, decimal. Should be in a decimal format. 10,2 is okay. Then what the 10,2 over here means, we should have 10 digits, 2 decimal places, okay? And the 20, 20, 20, 50 you find here are the sizes of the column names. The data type we've given to this column, their sizes. Okay, then I think we also have high date. So high date, we say let's make it date, high date. Okay, so now let's save this table as employee. So now when I refresh, we have two tables, account and employee. Since most of us are not familiar with the query which is used to insert record to the database, after typing this, you bring a comma, then you add your con, this con over here, you paste it here. Okay, and then in here where you have your double quotes, you open your employee table, right click on it, and you go to script table as. Here we are inserting, so you have insert to, you click on new query editor window, and the system will automatically generate the insert query for you. Okay, you don't have to type. That's when, if you are not familiar with the query things. Okay, so I will highlight the query to where we have the values. Okay, don't highlight all, to where you have the values, and then we'll come to my C# application and paste it here. Okay, so we'll have to do some rearrangement over here. So insert into, so I have ID, and move up here. So insert into employee, insert into employee table, into bracket ID, comma, have first name, last name, I have email, I have gender, salary, and then I also have high date. Alright, and then followed by my values. So followed by values. So values into bracket. What is the text box we gave to this ID? Over here, the name of the ID text box was txt ID. So we'll put txt ID here, dot test, but it should be in a single quote. So let me clear them. Single quote, double quote, sorry, double quote, plus plus txt id dot test. I move out, comma, another one, single quote, double quote, plus plus first name. We are done with the ID. Okay, so this one is for the ID. The second one over here is for the first name, so txt first name dot test. Okay, we move out, comma, single quote, double quote, plus plus. Then we have last name. It's going to be txt last name dot test, plus plus. Then we have email, txt email dot test, comma, no quote, plus plus. Gender, txt gender dot test, move out, double quote, plus plus. They have salary. Okay, so salary, we say txt salary dot test, we move out. Then we have double quote, plus plus. Then finally we have the high date. Okay, the high date was dt high date dot, here it's a value because it's a date time picker. We don't say dot test but dot value. Okay, all right, so after doing this, we have our command set. Okay, have our command set, move down, and I'll say cmd dot execute non query, and then after executing, I will display a message. So message box dot show into bracket, we'll say record saved successfully. Record saved successfully, comma. Then here I have my message title. So message title. Okay, you can enter any title over there. Then I have message box buttons dot okay. Sorry. And message box icons dot error. Okay, so that's all we have to do. Now let's run and see the results. Okay, so now click on start to run our project. Okay, it's building. All right, so we have our login here. We have admin. I remember admin login. What is the problem now? Think there's a problem. Incorrect username or password. Okay, dummy. Okay, so we have our dashboard open here. So now let's try and insert a record. So first one, we have ID 101. First name we have Maxwell. Last name we have Eggy. Email maxeggy@yahoo.com. Gender, select male, select high date, can be any date. Okay, and salary, and I click on save. I have record saved successfully. Sorry, this one should be an information icon, not an error icon. Record successfully, and I click on OK. How do we know the record has been saved? Is it true it hasn't been inserted to the database? Now when we get to the database over here, what we have to do is we right click on the table and get to edit top 20 rows, and then if it's there, truly we are going to see our record here. So we've been able to insert a record from the CSharp application to our database. Let me do another one here. 102. We have Alice Eggy. So Alice Eggy. Alice is a female. A high date. Her salary. Click on save. Record successfully. Now when I open my database and then let me open it again, at the top 20 rows, you should see Alice 2 here. So our application is working now. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. We'll meet you guys in our next section where we'll be talking about how to delete record from our C# application in the database. Okay, all right, see you soon. Hello guys, welcome to Siotech College of Technology. I am Maxwell. This is part 5 of our C# programming with database. In our previous lecture, we learned how to insert record into the database using our C# application. Today, we will learn how to update record in a database using a C# application. Okay, so in our previous section, we gave all components here, including text boxes and this database view, an ID or variable names. And then we had this piece of code over here inserting a record to a database for us. Today, we're working on the update. After inserting the record to the database, how do we update? That's what we are going to do for today. To update the record in the database, just as we did for the save, you double click on the update record. So let's double click on it. Okay, so over here, if you are updating from a C# application to the database, these are the two important variables you need. First, you need SQL connection, okay, which contains your connection string. Then you also need your SQL command, which contains your query to perform transaction. Okay, so let's start. SQL connection, what do? We say SQL connection con is equal to new SQL connection, and then we have our connection string to be data source. We say the data source is the name of the host. Okay, here it's local host. And then we have database, the name of the database over here. What's the name of our database? The name of our database is CSharp tutorial. Okay, so it's equal to CSharp tutorial. Then we have our integrated security to be true. Then we open connection, so con.open. And next thing we're going to do is what? Our command. Okay, it's simple, right? So we say SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command into brackets. We are to write an update query. So with this run too, if you're not familiar with writing query yourself, you open your database, then you right click on your employee table we created, you go straight to script table as we have update, then you click on new query editor window. The system will write the query for you. This is how you write an update query. Okay, so let me copy the first line and then paste it here. So let's set them up. So we have update employee, which is your table name, set ID equals. Okay, so over here we are going to do it ourselves by saying single quote, double quote, and then plus. We can also make it this way. Since the ID is our primary key, we won't be editing our ID. So let's start from first name. So set first name. So over here, we'll copy first name equals single quote, double quote, plus. We have txt fn dot test. Come on. After first name, what do we have? We have last name, right? Copy last name. Last name equals single quote, double quote, plus. Then in here we type txt ln dot test. Move out, comma. What do we have next? We have email. So we say email equals single quote, double quote, plus, txt email dot test, comma. To that we have gender, copy, paste. Gender is equal to single quote, double quote, plus, txt gender dot test. Move out, comma. And what do we have here? Salary. The same thing. Paste here. Salary equals single quote, double quote plus plus txt salary dot test. Move out. Then finally we have high date. So high date equals single quote double quote plus plus dt high date dot value. Okay, then here we say where id equals single quote double quote plus plus id dot test txt id dot test. Then every command moves with the connection. So after typing this query, okay, after typing this query, comma, we bring our con here. Okay, add comma con. Okay, typing all these, you add comma con to it. All right, the next thing we're going to do now is we say cmd dot execute non-query, and then we display a message box dot show, into bracket we say record updated successfully, followed by the message title and the message box buttons dot okay, message box icons dot information. Let me terminate. Okay, so that's all for the update. Now let's try it and see how it's be working. And I click on start. And then when I click on start, let me log in with my credential. So dummy login. Okay, so over here what we have in our database, right click, edit top 200 rows. We have first record here to be Maxwell. We want to update Maxwell Eggy here, so his ID is 1001. So start by saying 1001 Maxwell Eggy. I'm changing Maxwell Eggy to Maxwell Francis. So we say Francis at yahoo.com. Gender male, salary 100. You see the information here has changed. When I click on update, record updated successfully. Okay, how do we know it has been updated successfully? When I right click on this guy, edit top 200 rows. Let me close this one here. Close that one too. Right click, edit top 200 rows. And you have Maxwell Francis. Information has been changed now. Okay, so that is how we update a record in CSharp. That is how we update a record in CSharp. Okay, so guys, thanks for watching. Keep practicing. No, it's easy and simple. Keep practicing. It's not difficult. We'll see you in the next lecture where we're talking about how to delete in the next section. Thank you. Stay tuned.
Hello guys, welcome to COTech College of Technology. I am Maxwell. This is part 6 of our C# programming with database. In our previous lecture, we learned how to update a record in a database using our C# application. And today, we will learn how to delete the record. After inserting, updating, you will learn how to delete the record in the database using C# application. So how do we go about it? Now, this is what we did the last time. With the update, we said we have two variables, database variables that is needed always. And this is how we did it. So with the delete, we will double click on the delete button and have these codes here. Let me go over again. Okay, so we always need these two variables whenever you are deleting a record from the database in your C# application. And then after, we need our declare variables assigned to a value. So we say SQL connection con is equal to new SQL connection. The connection holds a connection string, so you can see connection string here. So we'll copy this guy because it's actually the same thing. So and then we paste it here. Then don't forget to open connection, so say con.open. The next thing we always do is we have our command. The command holds the query with the connection to the database. So we say SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command. And then what is our command? So the command is always a string and it should be in a double quote. So you can see SQL command string cmd test. So you have a command test here followed by comma our connection. So if you are not familiar with writing SQL Server queries, this is one of the ways to get or to write your delete query. You go to your database management system, you right click on a table, you go to script table as delete to, okay, new query editor window, you click on it, and then we'll have this statement copied. We'll paste it here and then we'll edit it. Okay, so here delete from DBO employee where ID equals single quote double quote plus txt id dot test. Now I'm using ID because in our database the ID was our primary key. Whenever you are deleting from a database, you delete with a unique colon. We can use email because our email is unique. We cannot use gender because gender is not unique. We can use ID, email, contact. Those are the columns that are usually unique. So here, since in our table or in our instance ID was our primary key, I'm using ID. So delete from employee where ID is equal to txt id.test. Then you say cmd.execute non-query. Then we'll display a nice message as message box dot show, okay, into bracket. Here we say record deleted successfully. Okay, move out. Then we have a message title here. Okay, then we have message box buttons dot okay, comma message box icons dot information. Okay, so that's it. So these are the few instructions, or these are the instructions that is used to delete record from our database in our C# application. Let's run and see the results. Okay, so now I have to log in. Dummy. Oh, sorry, I think I entered the wrong thing. Dummy. Okay, I have my dashboard open, and since I am deleting based on the ID, there is no need for me to enter all this records. So now if I want to delete Alice, I'll just enter 1002 and click on delete. So record deleted successfully. Now let's check and see if truly it has been deleted or Alice has been deleted successfully. Right click on the employee table, edit top 200 rows, and then when it opens you shouldn't see Alice there anymore. So guys, thanks for watching. That is how we delete a record from a database in a C# application. The next section we'll be talking about is how to get the information into our data grid view, our table, so we don't have to be always coming to the management studio to check what we've done. So stay tuned. Hello guys, welcome to COTech College of Technology. I am Maxwell, and this is part 7 of your C# programming with database journey. In our previous lecture, we learned how to delete a record from our database using our C# application. We've already learned how to insert a record into a database using C# application. We've already learned how to update a record. We've done how to delete. And today, in our lesson, you learn how to display the records in a database into a data grid view in our C# application, so that we don't always have to be going to the management studio to check records, but rather everything will be done here. Okay, so to display the record from the database onto the data grid view, what we have to do is create a function to carry out that task for us. So we'll double click on the form. Don't double click on the data grid view, but we'll double click on the form. Double click on the form. This mouse. Right click view code, take you back to the code section where we have our delete, update, and then the rest. And then we'll create a function down here. Say public void, you say load employee records. Load employee records. So in this function, it's where you write our instructions to get the information from the database dataset onto our C# application data grid view or table over here. Okay, so we'll start by saying whenever you want to display an information from the database onto data grid view, these are some important database variables you need. First of all, you need your SQL connection, okay, which contains your connection string, okay. Then you also need over here your SQL command, okay. The command contains your query, okay. You also need data table, as we discussed earlier. We also need SQL data adapter, we need the binding source, So these are the 5 things you always need when you are displaying a record from a database onto a data grid view. So here I'll start by saying SQL connection con is equal to new SQL connection. Then over here we need the same thing here, so we'll copy this guy, paste here, terminate, and then we say con.open, open our connection. Then after we have our command. So we say SQL command cmd is equal to new SQL command into bracket. The command holds our code. Now here we are selecting, we are displaying, so we just say select all, after it means all, from employee, followed by the connection con. And then after we say SDA SQL data adapter SDA is equal to new SQL data adapter. Create an instance of it, so that it now say SDA dot select command is equal to cmd. Then we say SDA dot fill with our data table. Then we have to declare data table dt is equal to new data table. Yeah. And then after filling with our data table, we add our binding source. So binding source bs is equal to new binding source. So just say bs dot data source is equal to dt. And then we have our data gives you dgv employee dot data source is equal to bs. Then finally sda dot update into bracket dt. So with these few lines of instructions here, the system is going to get the information from data grid view, from the data set in the SQL Server management system here onto our data grid view over here. So now let's try and see. Now when I click on start to start the application, log in with dummy, and then log in, you realize that our record didn't appear here, though we have one record in our table, but it didn't appear here. And it's because the function we created has not been called. So how do we call the function? So in here, what we are going to do is I'll copy the function name, and then we'll double click on the form. As soon as the form loads, okay, we'll double click on the form, and then we'll paste it here to create a form name underscore load method for me. We'll paste it here. Now also I want the table to refresh as soon as someone saves, so we'll also paste the function right under this. We'll paste it right here and delete to paste it there. And then that's all. When we start our project, we log in with our credentials. Okay, you can see we have our record here. Let's try and insert a different one. 1002. We have Felicia T Felicity at yahoo.com. Female, salary 15. And when I click on save, record successful, I click on OK, we have the record here. So we don't always have to get to the database to check, though it has appeared here, but we don't always have to be switching screens and all that. Okay, so now we have our record here as Felicia Inti. So guys, that's all for today. Our advice, you keep on practicing, because after learning this, if you don't practice, you are going to forget whatever we've learned so far. Thanks for watching. See you in the next lecture. Bye bye. Hello guys, welcome to Tech College of Technology. I am Maxwell. Welcome to part 8 of our CSharp programming database. In this section, we'll learn how to clear text boxes. After inserting, deleting, updating, we'll learn how to clear text boxes. In our previous lecture, we learned how to get the information from the database onto our data grid view. Okay, so to clear your text box, we'll create a button here. Do that for us. Okay, name the button, text of the button as clear. So clear, and then we'll give a name to the button. Now the name of the button now is button 1, so we'll change to btn clear, and then we'll double click on it. Okay, now when I double click on it, start by saying as soon as a user is done entering, whether saving, deleting, and updating over here, when the user clicks on this clear, the system should automatically clear whatever record that's in these text boxes. So I'm going to pick the text boxes by name one after the other in clear. So I start by txt id.test is equal to string.empty. Okay, you can also say or do this txt_i.test, then you bring just a double quote. This one too works, so whichever way you are cool, it's okay. .empty. Next, txt email.test is equal to string.empty. txt fname.test is equal to string.empty. txt gender.test is equal to string.empty. txt last name.test is equal to string.empty. txt salary.test is equal to string.empty. Okay, so with these few lines of code, the system will clear all these text boxes for us. Let's try an example and see how it works. So I have dummy, and then dummy. Okay, so after entering a record 1003, name, we have Samuel Dixon, say Sami at gmail.com, mail, salary. Now when I click on save, record has been saved here, but there are some text boxes still here. The text boxes are still here, so the system should automatically clear them. But for ours, we have our clear button, so now when I click on clear, it clears them all. Okay, so thanks for watching the video. God bless you all. I want you to practicalize whatever we are doing here, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for any new tutorial that will be coming soon. Thank you. Bye bye. Take care.